You know how some companies, they just seem to be everywhere, grabbing headlines, all the buzz, maybe, I don't know, sponsoring a Super Bowl ad.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The ones everyone talks about.
Exactly. From tech blogs to just, chatting with friends. But then there are these other companies building quietly, like really foundational stuff for future industries. And yet they're flying completely under the radar. Today, we're going to dive into one of those really fascinating cases. A company our research calls a building machine, not a hype machine.
That's a great description.
We've got a whole stack of insights here on a company called Metallicus. And our mission, for you listening, is to unpack what exactly they're building, why they haven't really generated that widespread buzz, despite their ambitions.
Right.
And maybe most importantly, what that quiet approach could actually mean for the future of digital finance. And, well, for Metallicus itself.
It's such an interesting tension, isn't it? I mean, in an era that feels so dominated by like immediate gratification, viral trends, to see a company taking this really deliberate long game approach, focus so heavily on the foundational infrastructure rather than just the flash, it really makes you question how we define value, how we define visibility in the tech world.
Good point.
So yeah, we'll explore why that quiet approach might actually be a profound strategic strength, but also what are the trade-offs? Because you're operating in this really dynamic, often pretty loud space.
Okay, let's get right into it then. So from the material we looked at, Metallicus is often referred to as the Digital Banking Network, TDBN. That name alone, it suggests something huge. So what precisely is this building machine constructing inside the digital banking network?
Yeah, what's truly fascinating here is just the sheer breadth of it all and the depth. Metallicus isn't just, one product or a single app. It's a really comprehensive suite, almost a complete ecosystem, and it's specifically designed for blockchain and digital asset banking.
An ecosystem, okay.
Exactly. And our reason breaks down several key components that make up this network. Each one plays a pretty critical role.
Like what?
Well, first, there's the Metal blockchain.
Yeah.
This serves as their foundational layer 0. So essentially, think of it as the base protocol, the fundamental railway, maybe,
on
which other blockchains can be built and communicate securely. It's like the infrastructure for the infrastructure, if that makes sense.
Got it. The base layer.
Right. Then, built on top of that is Metal L2. That's a layer 2 solution. And its job is basically to increase transaction speed, efficiency, make the whole network much more scalable for really high volumes.
Faster and bigger. Makes sense.
Then, they also have their own stablecoin and index treasury. It's called the Metal Dollar.
Okay, a stablecoin. We hear a lot about those. Pegged to the dollar usually.
Usually, yeah. And a stablecoin, as many listeners probably know, aims to keep a stable value, often pegged to something like the US dollar. But this one's also an index treasury.
Index treasury, what's that at?
Well, it tries to sort of fortify that stability even more by backing the Metal Dollar with a diversified basket of assets. So not just a single fiat currency, maybe not even just one crypto.
Diversification, like in investing.
Exactly. That diversification is designed to provide, greater resilience against volatility.
Interesting. Okay, what else is in the ecosystem?
So rounding it out, there's the WebAuth wallet. That's for secure user interaction, digital identity.
Yeah.
The MetalX exchange for actually trading digital assets. And Metal Pay for, seamless payments. It really is a full stack, end-to-end solution they're building.
Wow, that does sound incredibly comprehensive.
Yeah.
Very intricate. And, something I noticed in the imagery and the sources we looked at, they very proudly state, made in the USA. Often, like right there with the American flag next to their logo.
Yeah.
That feels like a very deliberate choice, more than just patriotism.
Oh, absolutely deliberate. And I think it ties directly into their core philosophy. They heavily, heavily emphasize compliance, strong regulatory alignment, and crucially, a deep integration with traditional finance. We're talking specifically about, existing banks, credit unions.
Established players.
Exactly. Rather than just focusing only on those crypto native communities who might be more interested in, say, decentralization for its own sake. That made in USA branding, it really speaks to a commitment, I think, to operating within established regulatory frameworks here in the US.
Right.
So this isn't really about fostering, wild speculation or chasing the latest crypto fad. It seems to be about building these robust regulated pathways for digital assets to seamlessly enter and integrate with the established financial systems. Their approach, it's clearly a long game one. You see steady, meticulous engineering, methodical product development, extensive engagement with regulators, strategic partnerships. It's all geared towards stability, security, and that integration with the financial system as we know it today.
So for you listening, this really isn't just another flashy crypto project promising, crazy returns overnight.
No.
It sounds like it's about foundational work. It's about building those secure, compliant bridges, connecting the new world of digital assets with the existing, maybe slower, but essential financial framework, which honestly makes it even more intriguing. If they're building such comprehensive, compliant infrastructure, why aren't they a household name? I mean, our sources directly ask, why are Metallicus products flying under the radar? This feels like a real paradox, doesn't it?
It truly does. And it raises a really important question about how attention actually gets captured and sustained in today's digital world, especially within, the often very loud crypto and fintech spaces. One of the biggest reasons highlighted in our material seems to be their operational style. They've got, as you said, low flash marketing, high infrastructure work.
Right, the building machine.
Exactly. Think of it maybe like the internet itself. We all use it constantly, right? We benefit from instant communication, access to information.
Sure.
But how many of us are actively following the companies laying the fiber optic cables or managing the DNS servers or securing the core network protocols?
Good analogy. Not many, I guess.
Right. Metallicus is essentially building that crucial, often unseen plumbing, rails, and banking layers for digital finance. It's absolutely essential, foundational stuff, but it's inherently less flashy than, I don't know, a new meme token or a high-yield farming thing or the latest speculative asset.
Yeah, definitely less flashy.
It's just incredibly hard to create those viral moments when your main focus is on meticulous compliance, forging partnerships with traditional banks, navigating really complex regulations.
Okay, so beyond the low flash marketing.
Yeah.
How much does who their customers are play into this? You mentioned banks, credit unions, these institutions. Does that institutional market just operate on a different kind of hype cycle?
Oh, they absolutely do. Those institutional markets, they operate on entirely different timelines, different value systems. They move significantly slower.
Right.
They value stability, reliability, security above all else. Over spectacle, over rapid speculative gains. They do extensive due diligence. It takes a lot of time. And consequently, they just don't generate that kind of mass social media hype or those trending discussions that grab broader public attention. In fact, for many institutions, a company that actively avoids the spotlight might even seem more trustworthy, less risky.
Interesting point. Less noise equals more stability in their eyes, perhaps.
Perhaps. And furthermore, regulatory caution likely plays a pretty substantial role in suppressing any flashy announcements. Since Metallicus is aiming for really stringent compliance, especially here in the US, they probably actively avoid overpromising or making claims that could potentially attract unwanted legal or regulatory scrutiny down the line.
Makes sense. Don't want to get into the regulators.
Exactly. And that naturally dampens any aggressive marketing efforts. You prioritize long-term trust and regulatory approval over, short-term buzz. Imagine a bank announcing some major unproven tech partnership before it's fully vetted and approved by everyone internally and externally. That could be a regulatory nightmare.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then there's this sheer complexity of what they're actually building. You mentioned layer 0, layer 2 blockchains, stablecoin index treasuries, identity solutions linking to existing finance. I mean, it's incredibly technical stuff.
It really is.
Doesn't that create a huge barrier for just, regular people to fully understand it, let alone get excited about it in a mainstream way?
Absolutely. That's a huge factor. While, the niche industry audience is the engineers, the financial compliance officers, the real deep blockchain enthusiasts, they definitely get it. They understand the significance.
Right.
But the broader public, they often find it too technical, too abstract, just too complex to really grasp without putting in significant effort. And who has time for that?
Yeah, true.
And this also connects directly to the current crypto attention cycles, right? Which overwhelmingly tend to favor short-term viral trends. We're talking big token launches, celebrity endorsements, maybe some fleeting speculative opportunity.
The hype coins.
Exactly. Foundational infrastructure, meticulous compliance, long-term banking integration. That stuff often remains entirely out of the spotlight unless there's some major undeniable catalyst that just forces it into the public view.
And our research also pointed to just limited media and influencer coverage. Probably because their focus is just inherently less sensational. You're not going to see Metallicus sponsoring that Super Bowl ad.
Highly unlikely, yeah.
And the whole blockchain and crypto space, let's be honest, it's incredibly crowded. So many projects promise building for institutions or compliance first. It must be easy to just get ground out by all that market noise.
It is very noisy. And if we connect all this back to the bigger picture, their slow or maybe incremental product rollouts, they're a direct result of all that regulatory integration and engineering complexity we've been talking about.
Right. It takes time to do it right.
Exactly. And that means fewer headline-grabbing announcements, fewer big viral product launches that typically generate hype and capture the public imagination. Their journey is clearly one of gradual, deliberate progress, rather than those explosive leaps we sometimes see. It's a really curious dynamic, isn't it? To be building something potentially so vital, yet remains so under the radar. It really forces you to rethink what success even looks like in the tech world sometimes.
It certainly does. Okay, so let's pivot slightly. If Metallicus did want to maybe increase its visibility a bit without completely compromising that authentic identity as the building machine, what levers could they actually pull? What strategies might help them bridge that gap between, essential infrastructure and broader public recognition?
That's the key question, right? If knowledge is most valuable when it's understood and applied, then maybe one of the most powerful levers they could use is publishing really compelling use case stories and detailed case studies.
Yeah, show, don't just tell.
Exactly. Imagine real banks or credit unions sharing concrete metrics, like the actual cost savings they've realized since implementing the tech, or the increased transaction speed they've achieved, or even just the newfound regulatory confidence they feel, all thanks to adopting Metallicus' stack.
Go on.
Tangible, verifiable results. Those tend to travel far. And they resonate much more deeply than just abstract technical explanation.
Showing verifiable results. Yeah, that sounds way more convincing.
Yeah.
But do those institutional clients, the banks, the credit unions, do they always feel comfortable publicly endorsing new, sometimes maybe controversial tech, or even if they're benefiting? Does that create another hurdle?
That's a very keen observation, yeah. And a valid challenge. It's true, traditional institutions can be quite conservative about public endorsements, especially in a field that's still kind of nascent, like digital assets.
Right.
However, even, say, anonymous or aggregated case studies could still offer a lot of value, show the trends, the potential. And beyond that, our sources also mention more media interviews, more thought leadership from their executives.
Getting the leadership out there.
Exactly. This would involve them actively stepping into the public discourse more, positioning themselves as trusted experts on the key issues.
Okay.
Positioning themselves as subject matter experts on those trending critical issues within finance, things like stablecoin regulation, digital identity solutions, the future of faster payments, the actual real-world application of blockchain that can significantly boost their public profile. And it firmly establishes their credibility. Plus, strategic partnerships and endorsements, if they can get them, with well-known established financial institutions, maybe reputable regulatory bodies or influential fintech firms, that would lend immense credibility and provide a really powerful boost in visibility within the broader financial world.
Like a seal of approval.
Exactly, especially when a trusted name vouches for the underlying tech.
Okay. And what about the developer community? That seems crucial for any platform tech.
Yeah.
Our research mentioned open source and developer evangelism. That feels like a different kind of visibility, right? Not mainstream headlines, but building an actual ecosystem.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Yeah, for organic growth, for ecosystem expansion. By providing, say, open source tools, hosting hackathons, releasing comprehensive software development kits, SDKs, they can actively encourage third-party developers to start building applications and services on top of their infrastructure.
And people using it.
Right. And that simultaneously boosts the usage of their platform and dramatically increases its visibility within the technical community, which in turn can kind of trickle outwards into the broader tech conversation, and maybe even more aggressive product launches. But crucially, they need to be accompanied by simpler, clearer messaging that could help non-technical folks or non-finance people really grasp the core value proposition, make it less intimidating.
Translate the complex into the comprehensible.
Exactly.
And building community, too, through things like forums, developer communities, maybe webinars, even, I don't know, transparent roadmaps or behind-the-scenes engineering updates.
Yeah, absolutely. That could foster a real sense of engagement, even ownership. People often love feeling like they're part of the journey, contributing to something meaningful.
Sure.
And finally, if the regulatory environment allows it, and if they actually choose to pursue it, even carefully considered token incentives or maybe other programmatic catalysts could be used just to get more people actually using the products, even experimentally.
Yeah, okay.
Ultimately, it's about finding those creative, effective ways to communicate their profound impact in ways that are understandable, engaging, but without compromising that deep, compliant building they're known for. It's definitely a delicate dance.
Maintaining their core identity while strategically raising their profile.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've dug into what Metallicus is, why it seems to be flying under the radar, and how it could potentially step into the spotlight more if it chose to. But this brings us to maybe a final provocative thought, something for you, the listener, to sort of mull over. Is flying under the radar necessarily a bad thing for a company like this, especially one focused so heavily on that foundational infrastructure, on long-term stability?
That's a great question to end on. And honestly, not necessarily, no. There's actually significant merit, I think, in building strongly, deliberately, while staying out of that intense, often really distracting glare of public hype.
How so?
Well, it means fewer distractions, right? Less pressure to perform just for short-term gains or to appease a, frankly, often volatile retail market. It gives them a greater ability to focus on the absolute quality and the compliance of their products. And for institutional work, which is clearly their primary focus, a reputation for stability, for reliability, for meticulous adherence to regulations, that often matters far, far more than any transient hype. It really comes down to trust.
And trust takes time.
Exactly. It takes time to build, quietly and methodically. I mean, just imagine the pressure and the scrutiny a really publicly hyped crypto project faces every single day versus one that can meticulously develop its compliance frameworks away from those daily market fluctuations and, social media storms. That focus allows for much more robust, much more resilient infrastructure in the long run.
That's a powerful counterpoint. So ultimately, the question might not be if they should become more visible, but maybe do they even want more visibility?
Right.
And if they do, how much and through what channels? While, carefully preserving that authenticity, that credibility that seems to define them right now, it's such a delicate balance to strike. in any industry, really.
Yeah.
But especially when you're trying to integrate a potentially disruptive technology into a highly regulated traditional sector.
It is indeed.
Well, this deep dive, I think it really reveals how a company's strategic choices about its audience, about its approach to growth, can just dramatically shape its public perception. We hope this has given you, listening, a fresh perspective on the complex, often unseen world of digital finance infrastructure.
And maybe consider this as you go. In an ecosystem that's so often celebrated for its speed, its disruption, its rapid innovation, what is the true long-term value of slow, deliberate, and compliant building? And looking ahead, how will history ultimately judge the building machines versus the hype machines in the evolution of finance?
A lot to think about.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.